So this video is about how clients usually ask for the wrong thing. Hi, I'm Rebecca and I help you live a life of creativity, freedom, and business success. Here's the thing, usually clients, they ask for the wrong thing when it comes to their brand. They usually feel like something is missing, like what they currently have doesn't match where they want to be, and they think the way to achieve growth is through a new logo usually. So that's the first mistake. They come to a designer usually at a moment of discomfort, when they feel like something is lacking, like they're not really there where they want to be, and they feel like the brand doesn't match where they want to go. And they usually can't explain why. They don't have the words, they don't have the specific expertise of like why it's not currently working. So the closest thing that they can like visualize is their logo. And it's usually about much more than a logo. Usually they want to point to something tangible. And the logo is like the easiest thing, right? They can name it, they can see it all the time, so they think that's the problem. And the logo often feels like the part of the system that's the easiest to change, but that's not the most impactful. I know, feels weird, right? Because everyone always talks about the logo like Apple, Nike, and how memorable it is and everything, but the reason why those brands are successful is not just their logo. Their logo is like the symbol that represents everything that they do in the most simple way possible. Think about it like that. So your logo, essentially, what is your logo? It's like your entry point. It's like something that's just a mark. Literally, it's like a mark. Sometimes it's just a text. Why do you think that works? Because the logo is just like the simple way to it's like a signature of everything that you do. And it's just symbolized that. But it's not like your main drive of decisions or your values. Your logo is not gonna decide that for you. And it's not supposed to explain your business. I have a full blog post about what makes a good logo if you're interested in reading about that. But essentially for the purpose of this video, I'm not gonna go into too much detail on the logo itself, but just making a point that sometimes what you need is not what you think you might need. Usually like redesigning your logo feels like movement, like you're making progress in your brand identity because now you have a new logo. You have something that you can see and you see that it's something different, but that's not gonna solve the problem. When the logo changes without clarity, you're basically like changing how you dress. The brand is gonna look different, but it will still be the same essentially. So what is an identity then? If a logo is just a symbol, it's just the easiest way to mark something and like something is owned by a specific brand, what really is the identity after all? So the brand identity is like a language that the brand creates. It's like something that communicates without speaking. So you kind of know like what to expect from brands because you kind of are in a relationship with them in a way. And your perception is shaped by them, but it's kind of like a symbiotic process. So an identity is not what the brand says it is, and it's not like just what someone would say it is. It's like a relationship between both parts. So it exists in a cultural environment as well. So an identity is how a brand communicates over time. It's the language that it's built through consistency. So the language shows up in tone, it shows up in rhythm, it shows up in what's said and what's not said. So it's how you show up to the world. And here's the shift. A strong identity can be recognized even without a logo present. I know. You can feel it in a sentence, you can feel it in the pacing of a website, in how something invites you in or doesn't. And an identity doesn't exist alone. It's built in relationships. And the strongest brand identity, they are enforced, they're recognized by people all over the world. That's when branding stops being like an extra thing, like something like a decoration, and it starts being something that actually guides your decisions. Once you shift to language, branding becomes intentional. It becomes long-lasting. It becomes strategic and not trend-based. So aside from like a logo and a brand identity, there's another concept that I like to bring in my videos, that is the brand world. So the brand world, how is it different? If the logo is a symbol, a mark that represents something in a simple way, in an instantly recognized way, And an identity is a language that is built over time in a cultural context, in a symbiotic relationship, mind you. What would be the brand world? So let's dive in even further. The brand world is the actual experience that is lived by the audience. So it's the story that you built. So it's even deeper than just the identity. And the identity has a lot to do with like what you stand for and what you stand against and how you are recognized. So it's a lot about what you built, but the brand world is an experience. We are talking about something deeper here. So it isn't created once, it's entered slowly by your audience. It's an accumulation of a feeling that you feel over time throughout their interaction with the brand. It's how it feels to come back to something, how it feels to stay longer than expected. It's how it feels to connect. A brand world is atmosphere. I would say it's closer to architecture than it is to illustration. Hope that metaphor makes sense. You don't notice it immediately. You feel it through repetition and consistency. This is where branding becomes emotional, not just visual or something just recognizable. A brand world is how a brand is experienced throughout different touch points. And it relies a lot in memory. That's why consistency matters more than novelty. That's the part that clients usually feel but can't articulate. So where does the designer fall in all of that? The designer is there to translate the gap. So you need to have your vision very clear and you need to be able to shape the audience perception, and the designer is going to help you do that. But that has to be clear to the designer as well. So instead of coming for a logo, you first need to understand the whole system of your brand. Who does your brand talk to? What is the audience? How you want to make them feel? How are you going to shape the perception? What's engaging about the story of your brand? So there's a lot of questions that go into developing that, and it's gonna be built over time, like I said. But once you have that map very clear in your head, it's going to start to actually be easier to make decisions. You're gonna know if a logo makes sense or not, if the identity that is being reflected back to you is actually something that's intentional or not. So I would say it really helps to understand this, but up to you how you want to go about doing that. And if you need help, I'm always here. And I would like to know in the comments what other thing that I didn't mention that is really important, because I know there are a lot of those. Anyway, this is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you on the next ride.